Welcome to Dying Out Loud. This episode contains honest reflections about adolescence, belonging, and some of the emotional complexity that comes with growing up in small rural communities. In this episode, I sit down with one of my best friends since high school, Jenne Schwinn. We met as two outsiders entering a tight knit rural school where almost everyone had grown up together. What began as survival turned into a lifelong friendship. From KU basketball games to Austin, Texas reunions, the conversation is about belonging and the rare gift of a friendship that endures. Some friendships are born out of convenience. Ours was born out of survival. Welcome to the show, Jenne. It sounded kind of ominous, didn't it? Ours was born out of survival.
We were alone in the darkness and did not know how to navigate. It looked easy, but it wasn't.
Not you would have thought with 35 people to have relationships with, it would have been a piece of cake, but it was anything but. And I know that we shared that experience all 4 years of high school. And quite honestly, I know that we both carried bits of that trauma with us every day since then.
Don't mess with me now.
That's right. We are both grown ups. So let's go back a long way back, like almost 30-ish years back, and
That's gonna be
talk about what you remember, like that first day, if you can remember anything at all. And not necessarily even about you and I and our interaction, but just that first day of school.
I went into that first day of school like headstrong. I was living with my aunt and uncle and my cousins, and I had my family at school. That did not matter. I learned that very quickly. I don't remember really having much of a relationship with anybody in my family except for my cousin. Well, I was on the cheerleading squad with her. So that was different than what I expected it to be. The rest of my entire high school existence, I blacked out.
Definitely remember a lot of it, but a lot of those
Yeah.
memories were not good. You and I
No.
actually met, or at least we became aware of each other, I think in our first hour class our freshman year, because we both had
Probably.
Mrs. Carey. She wasn't Mrs. Carey at the time.
Oh,
She was Miss Matthews, I believe.
yeah.
But that was our first class together, and that was first hour, and we had drama
Right.
together for second hour. And we shared
Right.
that actually all 4 years as well.
Love drama.
What do you remember in terms of just like the feelings, like as you were trying to get to know other people and you were kind of like figuring out for yourself, like, who are these people and are they people that I will be able to be friends with? How did you figure out that you and I were going to be able to endure all of this together?
With you, it was easy. It was no bullshit. We were just friends and that was it. Like there was no competing for anything. There was no talking behind each other's backs about other people. It was just you and me being friends and trying to navigate, you know, high school.
Yeah,
We each had to create our own friend groups after freshman year, but we were always friends. Like we were always, you know, going to be friends for each other. I think our freshman year we really bonded a lot because of it being just so new and so raw and so scary.
yeah.
I mean, those people were mean.
I remember like the days of like getting enrolled, like leading up to going to school for the first day. And I think I met a couple of folks the day that I was enrolling, and they seemed very friendly. And I thought, this is going to be a cakewalk. I'll be able to make friends with everyone because the school was so
Yeah.
small. I was coming from a school where our whole entire kindergarten through 12th grade was really the same size as my ninth grade class. So I knew that, with less people to get to know, I should be very well able to adapt to that. And I think the shock in figuring out that people already were set kind of in their friendships and they really had no desire to get to know
Yeah.
other people, it almost kind of forced the two of us together. And I
Right.
mean, what a great way for divine intervention to show itself, because
Definitely.
I don't know that my high school experience would have been the same had I not had a friend like you who understood what I was going through, what it was like to be a new kid on the block, and most importantly, just what it felt like to not be accepted whenever we both came from schools where we had lots of friends and lots of love and, you know, no, not for you.
No. I came from a bully school.
Oh my gosh.
It's the whole reason why I moved to McLeod.
I didn't even
I
realize
don't know if you knew
that.
that. Yeah, I didn't really talk about it a lot. My 2nd grade through 8th grade year, my mom and I lived in Western Kansas, and it was a small town just like McLeod is, and even as a 2nd grader coming in, you would think that there weren't a lot of cliques,
Yeah.
but there were. And as the time went on, you knew what teacher you had, whether you were gonna have good friends or bad friends. I remember my 3rd and 4th grade teachers were just horrible. Like, I have 0 good memories from either of those classes, and I have great memories of the other teachers of those classes, like the other classrooms. I was like, "God, I wanted to be in your class so bad." And then 5th grade really started the whole bullying thing. It was like 5 girls in the class, and, like, 3 were always best friends, and there was 2 that were kind of on the outs, and then they also had, like, one other girl besides me that it was like they would let in one week and then, "Oh, you're out next week." And it was just really affecting me, my life, and, my parents and all that stuff. Hold on, I gotta take it. And so, since my mom was from McLeod and had gone to high school here and I had family here, my mom was like, "Let's do this. Let's just move back home and we'll put you in that school." And it was great. I was like so excited that whole summer. I was like, "Yes, this is amazing. I'm finally going to go to a school where people are going to like me because I have family here." And then they didn't. I thought they did. There were 2 specific people that I really thought were good friends.
Or
And then, like, you turn around and it's like, "Oh, you're talking about me? That's weird. I thought we were friends."
interesting what that really does to you, especially whenever you're that age, and to only be able to identify with a couple of folks, because obviously it wasn't just you and me against the world. We were fortunate
Right.
that there were a couple of other folks. You
Other,
obviously had a best friend
yeah.
in Candy as well, and I know that that even went beyond high school for a while. But we were, I think, lucky enough to have some connections with other folks, and we also found, I
Yeah,
think, some comfort in extracurriculars. You mentioned that you were a cheerleader, and
for
you were a
sure.
cheerleader all the years of high school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, what's funny about that is that in my previous school, the student body chose the cheerleaders, and so I was never a cheerleader. And then when I got to McLeod, I was cheerleader, like,
Right.
right
Because
away.
you tried
And I was
out, right? You tried out for the squad, and
exactly.
that's how they
Yeah.
selected them. Yeah. And I feel like even with like the drama stuff, I mean, again, there were
Mhm.
plenty of folks in drama that, we were associating with them because we all shared that class and we had to do
Right.
productions together. But we did find, I think, some good comfort in not only drama itself, but also with our drama teacher, McCormley. She
Lucky.
she was, I know, my absolute favorite teacher in high school, and I know that she was one of yours. Act-
100.
Actually, I think in our sophomore year, I was her McCormley's teacher's aide, and you were Mrs. Thomas's teacher's aide, and we had it the same during the same time period. And I know that we did things together
Mhm.
every once in a while for the two of them because they were so close. So,
Yeah, and, I ended up with doc doctor I ended up with Mrs. Thomas all the way through high school even without getting credit, like, my senior year because I just loved her so much.
yep,
And then when she got pregnant after I left high school, I was really close with them for a while. I think, as years move on, you know, things get over, but,
sure,
I still follow Sherry now and, like, her daughter who has 2 daughters because 'cause we're old.
right. It's so
And I used to
crazy.
babysit for Megan McCorley too, so and her little brother.
That's yeah. I mean, that I think all of those things. So there were lots of little good like nuggets for both of us, I think.
Nuggets, yeah,
But it was just not, I don't think, the experience that either of us had hoped for. But through that experience, what we found was a friend for life. I mean, you and I obviously we live in different cities. I live at home basically in Kansas City, and you still come back to visit at least once a year, and you're down in Austin, Texas now. But even with that distance, and even before the dawn of social media, there was that dark period where we really didn't communicate because we weren't at school. We weren't at the University of Kansas. I think we overlapped a little bit, but we weren't
did
really
we?
at school the same time. So I never saw you on campus. And
Bro.
I think by the time I was there, like full time for like 5 years straight, I think you were gone from the university already at that point in time. And
Yeah,
so we lost sight of each other because really the only way to keep in touch was email. And had we run into each other at school, I think we would have swapped KU emails, but we might still have even lost touch because email became
right.
obsolete at a certain point in time once you were finished with university. So without social media, we probably never would have found each other again unless we were lucky enough to run into each other in McLouth, like when we were both home visiting. And, I
Yeah,
even living in Kansas City, I still only make it out to McLouth like probably 3 or 4 times a year. That's by design. McLouth is a traumatic place for me. I didn't enjoy my time there. And quite honestly, I've tried to get my family to move from there ever since I left, just because the memories aren't fond ones for me. But
yeah, my memories of McClough are very traumatic now, so I don't know if I can go back, you know?
yeah,
It's just I had something for a while to go back to, and now it's just like, "Now what?"
right. Well, and
But I get it.
that begs the question then. I mean, you know, what do we hang on to from those years? And I think both of us agree, like the relationships like ours, that's what you hang on to.
Mhm.
Like you look at what positive came from that situation. And there are
Right,
people that we do have positive relationships with that we still communicate with. And
right.
and those are the things that we hold on to. I think both of us probably learned a really great deal of resilience from the experience that we had in high school and really how we chose to move on to from it because I think we both have successfully done that. I think while I know that we both still hold memories from that experience, those aren't the things that drive us every day. It's the work that we
No,
do. It's, your kids that you're with each day. It's the people that I spend my days with at work as well. And then the circle of people that we have surrounding us also. In the middle of all of that, though, we did some really awesome things. We actually met a basketball player that we both were in love with. You didn't realize that I was in love
fell in love.
with him the same way that you were in love with him, but I absolutely was. And that was
Yeah,
Scooter Berry. So, hear that
yeah.
name rings a bell. I think there's a KU sweatshirt right there.
So I got it at that game.
I still have my autographed ticket from I have a bunch of things from what we did that day because your dad and mom actually took us to that game, and then we did some other things in Lawrence, like grabbed lunch. We went to Target that
Yeah.
day. I
Oh,
still have, like, all of
my
my
dad said
things.
hi.
Oh, well, please tell him that I
My dad
said
says,
hello
"Say hi."
too. And my mom said
I
the
will.
same thing, actually. I was just talking to her this morning, and she says, "I just love that girl." Well, and you're the only person that I talk to about from high school. So it's
Yeah,
really hard not to be able to keep you straight, right? Like you're the only person
yeah.
that I talk to fondly. But things like that Scooter Berry moment, like both of us, I know we were like big keepsake people. I know whenever I was in Austin the last time, one of the nights we went to dinner, you broke out your senior memory book. I had gone through mine not too long before that at home and was just kind of perusing all of the things that, we had talked about, notes that we had exchanged. Like we definitely had a fair share of drama. And I don't know that it was drama that we invited as much as it was just drama that happened to surround us. But we
Round.
always had things to talk about because there was just always shit going on. What other things, like when you think about like all of the plays and the musicals and the dinner theaters that we did, are there any of those memories that just kind of stand out like fondly to you? Like, this is a memory that just makes me smile whenever I think about it.
I think, doing Fiddler on the Roof, you were just magnificent.
Thank you.
And Annie, I remember Oklahoma, but it was fun to do, but it was just kind of, I don't
I
know.
can't even
You didn't
remember
have
the
the lead.
other Oklahoma, Annie, Fiddler on the Roof, and there was one other musical, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was. I even remember The
I know we
Mouse That
did.
Roared. That was the very first play that either of us was ever in on that
Oh my
stage.
God. Or I thought it was Of Mice and Men.
Nope.
Did we
The
do that?
Mouse That Roared. Mice and Men was a book that we read in senior English,
Okay.
though. Yes. That's a play than A
Is
Mouse That
it? I don't
Roared.
know. I
Yeah.
don't remember. I don't know. We'll have to ask McCormley. She'd remember.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be
She's
talking
only
to
done
her on Monday. So I'll
oh,
be sure that I send her lots of love from you. So, and I know
not
she'll
very
send
good
it
at legal.
back. So I'm so
Yeah.
excited, actually. It's so great to be having this conversation with you today and then also getting to chat with her on Monday because all of these memories
Yeah.
are going to be like alive in my head.
Yeah.
When you think about like how we reconnect whenever, like those times when we've met in Lawrence and just grabbed lunch at Jefferson's and hung out there for, hours and just
Yeah.
talked. Why do you think it's so easy for us to be able to just kind of pick right back up where we left off? And we certainly text each other more today than we probably
Right.
have texted each other for a while. And that's by design, right? Because you and I both have
Yeah.
experienced some loss over the course of the last few years. And certainly I've a lot of stuff going on right now. And we're just keeping
Right.
closer tabs on each other as we should be. But why do you think it's so easy for us to do that?
Like I said, you are just my like no bullshit friend. I've never had to try to perform to be your friend. I've never had to worry that you are mad at me or that you weren't going to include me or that I think you are literally the most easy person to get along with that I've ever known in my entire life. Like you're
Thank you.
just this.
And I feel the same way. Like our friendship has always been one that's been like zero friction. Like we've always supported
0.
each other. We've always had each other's backs. We've always taken up for the other whenever one of us hasn't been in a room and somebody might be saying something disparaging. It's just the way we've
Oh,
always showed up for each other.
but did you really? Like, you were friends with my bully.
I was, however, we never even talked about that at all. Like,
It's so
and I
weird.
won't even mention that individual's name, but I recalled
Which is
I recall days whenever the three of us would sit in a row in drama and I would sit in the middle of both of you. And we did that a lot of days.
I was terrified of her. Terrified.
See,
Like, she made my life hell.
and I don't
Dead
think that
roses.
I knew like all of the extent of it. And
Oh
and
my god.
likewise, I mean, I know that there were some things that also transpired that, that you probably weren't privy to as well. I mean, we both unfortunately
Yeah.
experienced that sort of thing. But I think, if I would have been a stronger person, I would have probably even been a much louder advocate for like, why are we having this kind of,
Right.
disagreements or
Well, to be honest with you, I think I've told you this, that she actually reached out to me through Facebook
wow.
a long, long time ago. Yeah. Kind of a weird I'm into all the woo-woo stuff like tarot cards and, that kind of thing, angels and spirits and stuff like that. Well, my grandma had just passed away and she was a journal writer. And I took all of her journals home that weekend of her funeral just to sit and read them and basically cry myself to sleep every night because I missed her so much. And, there's a lot of things I didn't say to her. So reading those kind of gave me a sense of her life and I was just immersed in them. And I remember one specific day, I had my Facebook up on my computer and I was sitting there reading, and I just gotten finished reading. Like, she would start with like the weather report, and then like she would pick out a Bible, like a Bible verse or something. Like, I'm not religious, but I would read it and just, she would kind of explain it, and then she would tell about her day and blah blah blah. This one specific day that she was writing about somebody in her past that she was trying to forgive because, this person had wronged her, or there was some sort of drama. I don't even remember what it was. But anyway, so I'm not shitting you. After reading this, I get a message on my Facebook, like, ding. And it's this person writing me, apologizing for every single thing she's ever done to me. And it was the most random, out of the air, like, or out of the universe thing. And she basically was saying, her daughter was being bullied, and it took her back to all of the things that she did to me. And I mean, she was mean. Like, and I immediately was like, forgiven, like,
Wow.
totally forgiven.
It's really interesting
It's really interesting.
probably to have that type of experience for multiple reasons for you. Obviously, the fact that you were just, embedded in your grandmother's journals and were reading something about that, but also 25 years later to hear from someone that, participated in the trauma that you carry parts of with you today. It's got to be shocking to hear, from that person. And I don't know that any of those folks, I don't know that I've ever gotten necessarily an apology from any of the folks that were those,
What about
with the exception of
of my old roommate?
yes. And I don't even know that we said sorry as much as that we just like established like a different relationship than what we had in high school.
Right.
And I was perfectly fine with that. I mean, he reached out and engaged me in conversation. And, fortunately, we were in a very tumultuous time in the world. And he and I and you were all on the same side of the
Right.
table. And I think that helped make things a little better because, we certainly know that a lot of folks from our town that we went to high school in, don't necessarily see things the same way from a political standpoint that we do. But so in that regard, I think it's great to have reconnected and, and reestablished something. But also I think both you and I kind of decided at a specific time, in our young adulthood that we've got so many great relationships surrounding us now that we can sort of let go of some of that. It doesn't mean that it still doesn't hurt, and that if we wouldn't allow
Right.
ourselves the opportunity, time to spend and think about the emotions that we were feeling during those years, that it still wouldn't hurt. But the reality is that, we have grown. It did get better. I mean, we certainly found our own people. We kept each other and we kind of protected, the relationships that have shown up and meant the most to us.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely leaves a mark on you. I was really, really angry after high school. Like, there was lots of different things that had gone on. My parents had gotten divorced again and stuff. But I was really like, just don't F with me,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then something else happened in my life regarding my, parents or people in my life, like parental things that kind of like took me back. I mean, it was just, there was a lot in my 20s that I had to deal with that I probably would have rather not dealt with. But I feel like those have helped me grow, I guess. I don't know. I need
Yeah.
therapy because of it.
I definitely would say you've experienced growth because of that. It's the same thing. In my 20s, I was trying to figure out if I was ever going to be able to come out of the closet and what that would look like. And, I didn't even really start that adventure until I was 31 years old. And fortunately for me, the people like you that always showed up for me whenever I needed it during high school, you were showing up for me and you were so excited that I was going to be able to live authentically and so just ready and willing to embrace me. And those were the biggest fears that I had, as a young guy. I just didn't want to lose everyone that I had, and that was a real fear that I had. I thought, my family would alienate me. I thought everyone that I knew from high school and college would do the same. And, it was a very pleasant surprise that not only did I not lose you, but I think we probably strengthened our relationship even from so far away from each other. Like we were like
Yeah.
post high school, we've never been in a place where we've been able to, see each other regularly or, daily or weekly
Right.
even. It's every 6 months or every year at Christmas time. But we make sure that we get those moments together,
Yeah.
even if it's just like that 2 hour, let's go grab lunch someplace. And
Right.
those times that we've been able to be face to face together, I think it like seals like, the time that we're not together and gives us the ability to, whether it's a random meme that one of us sees, it's like, oh my gosh, I just thought of you. And we send each other a random text message at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. And then we don't talk again maybe until like the next Thursday or Friday. But we still talk to each other. We're still checking in with each other. And I love that for both of us because I think, we're both at a place right now where it's a benefit for both of us. It's good for both of our health and we keep each other motivated and laughing, especially in times whenever we need more laughter.
For sure.
Well, Jenny, every episode when I get people on here and we start trailing down memory lane, I take a little break and I read a letter that I wrote. You are one of the 74 people that I wrote letters to whenever I was going through my chemo treatments over the last 3.5 years. And so I'm going to share my letter with you. And then I'll give you the opportunity to say anything that you want to add. And I might have another question or two for you. And then we'll wrap up. So, Jenny, it took me a long time to be able to put this into words. And the truth is, our story really feels bigger than just language. We walked into that school as freshmen, two new kids stepping into a building where almost everyone had known each other since kindergarten. 36 of us would eventually graduate together, but on that first day, it felt like 34 insiders and two outsiders just trying to figure it out. I don't know if we consciously chose each other or if we just recognized that shared familiarity of not fitting in. But I know this: finding you made that place survivable for me. Throughout the next few years, we bonded over trauma and drama. But more than that, we bonded over being brave enough to show up for each other anyway. We laughed when things got awkward, and we built our own little corner of safety in a place that didn't automatically make space for us. And in doing that, we didn't just get through high school. We built a friendship that has outlived the hallways, the lockers, and every bit of that teenage chaos. I still have that KU basketball ticket from the game we went to with your parents. Meeting Scooter Berry felt monumental at the time, and in some ways, it still does to me. Not because we got his autograph, but because it represents one of my first experiences of being included, of being welcomed into something. Your family did that for me. You did that for me. Over the years, life has taken us in different directions. We're in different cities, we're in different chapters of our lives, and we have different challenges. We only get to see each other once or twice a year now. But yet, every single time, it's effortless. There's no awkward catching up, there's just continuity. It's like we've always been mid sentence every time we connect. I've been to Austin for tattoos and for great dinners, and you've been there for some of the most defining seasons of my life, through joy, through loss, through reinvention, through health scares and healing, through everything. What I want you to know, clearly and without hesitation, is that you are a foundation in my life. You represent resilience. You represent loyalty. You represent a kind of friendship that doesn't require close proximity to remain powerful. I've never questioned where I stand with you, and that kind of certainty is the rarest of gifts. You met me when I was brand new. You loved me when I was still figuring myself out, and you've continued choosing me through every version since. Thank you for surviving that first year with me. Thank you for getting me through high school and growing up with me. And thank you, most importantly, for still being here. I love you.
Love you. I take that in, and it's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. You know, I don't think people say enough what you say. People don't, you know, let their feelings go when they should, you know? So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure and my honor that I had the opportunity to do it. I know it's not the easiest thing to come on and record and then have the conversation be shared with anybody who wants to listen. But I
Yeah.
think there's something in our relationship and in the way that we have shown up for each other that people can share, and who knows what type of an impact it might have on them. Maybe they're going to be the person that picks up that phone and reaches out to somebody that they bullied in high school, and they're going to make that
Yeah.
apology.
Yeah. I did the same thing.
Well,
It's a very rough draft
okay.
because I think I've told you I have had a very hard time journaling lately.
Yeah,
There's a lot in my brain. There's been a lot of my brain for the last year since my mom passed away, and it's hard to get it out on paper. I've sort of been keeping it. I don't know if it's I'm keeping it just for me and it in me, nobody else has to deal with it like I do. I don't know. Anyway, so I wrote this kind of on the fly, but it says a lot of what I mean. It might not make sense because I was kind of anyway. Okay. Kris, you've always made me feel seen and loved for who I am. Never fit into the high school bullshit we had to deal with. You were there for me when no one else was, or if I was fighting with other friends, there was no one I would rather take to a KU basketball game than you. They all lost out. So we reconnected as adults. I don't know when or where exactly, but I've cherished every minute of it. Being able to witness you marrying the love of your life made me so happy and hopeful that somewhere out there, my mister is waiting. Just my luck. Also, in the last half of my life, your strength and courage is eye opening. The way that you fought cancer is unfathomable to me. Do not know. I do not know and will never know how you did it. I I will never. You've dealt with more shit than you should have had to deal with as a human, and I'm so glad that you're gay and proud and with the love of your life. Seeing you sad or hurting always makes me sad, but I can't read what I wrote. I don't. I can't read this.
uh, I mean,
I can't read out loud what I
that
wrote.
was amazing. I
Seeing you happy gives me courage. Seeing you happy gives me courage. That's
love that. Thank you for that. I was so excited that you were able to be here for the wedding, and what an amazing kind of joy that was for me to bring like all of these people who have known me in different like versions of my life together and have them get to meet each other and spend time with each other and get to know each other. And that's definitely one of like the memories that stand out for me over the course of the last 5 years that just really hits home for me, is having all of those people together, in the same place and getting to share that time with Anthony and I.
yeah. Oh, I love him, by the way.
I do too.
I love him.
I do too.
I don't get to say that enough. I try to Instagram him every once in a while just to let him know, but
He appreciates that.
I don't know.
I know he does. So, um,
Good.
well, Jenny, thank you so much for joining me today, for coming on, for sharing your heart openly and letting me do the same with you. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And I am looking forward to whenever Anthony and I can be in Austin together and spend some time with you in your neighborhood so we can go to some of those great
I
Austin places.
I can't wait. I hope it's soon.
It's going
I
to
know
be
there's some things
soon.
in the way right, but it needs to be soon.
Yes, I agree. Time is of the essence. Folks, a reminder for you that friendships that last a lifetime are worth every bit of the time and energy and effort that it takes to nurture them. I wouldn't be here with Jenny today if we both didn't show up for each other in a consistent way throughout our lives. I'd love for you all to be able to reach out to someone who is important to you, who's been a steady presence for you. Share this episode, let them hear the words that Jenny and I have exchanged, and let them know how important they are to you. That's what this episode is all about. Sometimes the greatest gift in life isn't the number, it's not that quantity of people that you know. It's that one person or that small group of people who met you when you were brand new and they never stopped choosing you throughout life. And that is what Jenny is to me. And that's what I've been for her. And I hope that everybody who has a Jenny in their life takes a moment to share with them how important they are. This has been another episode of Dying Out Loud, and I'd love it if you'd give us a like or a subscribe or share us with somebody that you know and love. And until next time, I'm Kris Syme, your host. Thank you.